Mixed signals are a quiet kind of chaos. They don't shatter your world at once. They slip into it like shifting weather. A warm breeze in the morning, a cold wind by nightfall. You never know which version of them you'll meet, and that uncertainty becomes its own form of gravity. Most people assume we fall for mixed signals because we're confused. But confusion alone doesn't pull anyone in. What pulls us in is the contrast, the sudden intensity followed by unexplained distance, the moments of softness followed by silence that feels undeserved. Your nervous system wasn't built for this rhythm. Predictability calms it, but unpredictability sharpens it. When someone is fully available, you exhale. When someone is inconsistent, you hold your breath without realizing you've stopped breathing at all. There's a reason for that. Mixed signals activate a mechanism called intermittent reinforcement, the same pattern that makes gambling addictive. Not the reward itself, but the possibility of reward. The maybe, the almost. When affection comes sporadically, your brain mistakes it for something precious. It feels rare, intimate, meaningful, not because it is, but because the silence around it makes it appear that way. And instead of stepping back, you lean in. You begin replaying conversations, searching for hidden cues, convincing yourself that the warmth meant something, and the coldness must have a reason. You don't chase them because they're offering clarity. You chase them because they're offering contrast. The mind registers contrast as significance, as depth, as emotional truth, even when it's not. So you hold on to the moments that felt real, as if they could cancel out the moments that felt wrong. But mixed signals don't reveal who someone is. They reveal what they cannot give: consistency, presence, and the simple honesty of being as stable as the connection they claim to want. There comes a moment in every push-pull connection when you realize you are no longer chasing the person themselves. You are chasing the emotional contrast they create. The sudden warmth after distance, the unexpected softness after silence. Those shifts feel like revelations, as if you finally unlocked a hidden truth about them. Mixed signals operate like illusions of light. They cast just enough glow for you to see an outline, never enough to reveal the whole figure. And the mind, uncomfortable with emptiness, fills in the missing pieces with hope, with imagination, with stories that feel safer than uncertainty. Unpredictability heightens attachment, not because you are fragile, but because your psychology was wired to decode danger, to anticipate shifts, to survive inconsistency long before you learn to seek love. When someone is inconsistent, your brain enters a state of vigilance, scanning for the smallest signs of change. A shorter message, a slower reply, a colder tone. Everything becomes symbolic, as if the truth is hidden between the lines. This is where mixed signals gain their power. They turn connection into a puzzle, and humans are compelled to finish puzzles, especially the ones that mirror old emotional wounds. For many, inconsistency feels eerily familiar, not comforting but recognizable. It echoes a childhood spent navigating unpredictable emotions, trying to understand the moods of adults who were present one moment and far away the next. So when an adult connection recreates that pattern, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels like unfinished business. It feels like an opportunity to finally get it right. And that's why the push-pull becomes magnetic. It awakens old instincts to interpret, to stabilize, to earn security through effort. Not because the person deserves such devotion, but because your nervous system learned early that safety is something you work for, not something freely given. Mixed signals thrive in this internal conflict. The highs feel euphoric because they follow self-doubt. The lows feel devastating because they echo abandonment. It becomes a cycle where your mind confuses emotional intensity with emotional importance. And so you chase, not because the connection is deep, but because the unpredictability has created a psychological cliff you keep leaning over, hoping the next moment of warmth will finally pull you back to solid ground. There is a subtle ache that lives inside every bond defined by mixed signals, an ache born not from rejection, but from almost connection, almost understood, almost chosen, almost enough. We rarely admit it, but what keeps us chasing isn't the person. It's the small, fleeting moments where their clarity briefly appears. Moments that feel like sunlight breaking through a storm, warm enough to make you forget how long you've been standing in the rain. Mixed signals thrive on this selective warmth. Not consistent enough to be trust, not distant enough to be closure, just present enough to keep your heart suspended in a state of emotional limbo. And limbo is addictive because it leaves space for fantasy. Fantasy is the quiet architect of this connection. It builds versions of them that match your longing instead of their behavior. It tells you that the warmth is real and the coldness is a misunderstanding, a phase, a wound you might heal if you try hard enough. But reality is simpler than fantasy. People who want to show up do. People who are ready stay. People who care clarify. Consistency is never ambiguous. It never hides behind timing, hesitation, or emotional fog. Mixed signals feel profound because you're forced to interpret them, and interpretation creates meaning even where none exists. Your mind becomes the storyteller, your heart becomes the witness, and somewhere between the two, you begin to mistake effort for intimacy. But real intimacy requires presence, not decoding. It requires steadiness, not the thrill of waiting. It requires truth that doesn't flicker in and out like a faulty light. One day, quietly and without ceremony, you realize the emotional chase has taken more from you than the connection ever gave. You realize you were holding on to potential, not reality. You were holding on to hope, not evidence. You were holding on to versions of them that only existed in the spaces their silence created. And that is where the turning point lives, the recognition that mixed signals are not a mirror of your worth, but a reflection of their uncertainty, a reflection of their unreadiness, their emotional distance, their inability to meet you where you truly are. Clarity does not arrive in fragments, love does not move in riddles, and connection does not come disguised as confusion. Sometimes the silence between their signals tells you more than their warmth ever did. This was the silent archetype. Stay curious and stay silent.